Hi everyone, and welcome back to this channel of the show. Happy December! I'm finally breaking out my Christmas sweaters, sporting Mickey this first video around, and, well, second video around. Whatever. But in the first official December video, just because last week's video was my October trip to Disneyland, this is the first official December video, and because it's the first official one and I was just at Disneyland in last week's video, even though I wasn't just at Disneyland, I'm still mentally there. So Mickey, the big mouse. I decided to start this new series, kind of like with a lot of my other series. It's not going to be very regular. It's just going to be when I feel like putting out another one of these videos. It's the I read these so you don't have to. And basically the inspiration for this was this video, and also too I have quite a few other books that fall under different categories or different general categories, and I figured like doing this kind of video where once I've read a lot under that kind of a category or genre, I would give my thoughts on these books, and I would share whether or not I think they're worth reading, and if they're not worth reading, if they're not worth the hype, if they are worth the hype, that kind of a thing. However, what I will say before this video and before any video that falls under this series is that any opinions I share in these videos are opinions. They are not fact. They are not objective facts. They are not objective opinions. They are subjective opinions based on my experience with any books mentioned in any of these videos or in any reading reviews videos I do. My opinions, my reviews are subjective. So I would say take any of my opinions with a slight grain of salt, just because my tastes will not be exactly the same as yours. So I will have that some sort of disclaimer like that at the start of every one of these videos, just because I feel like we forget. Objectively speaking, my opinions are my own, and I'm allowed to have them. So with all that said, we are doing the Disney edition of this series. It's the first video, and I have this massive stack here. And in this stack, I've included books that have stories that inspired Disney, whether it's a movie or a part of the park. And I also have, oh, I forgot a book. I'll grab it in a second. And I also have books that were inspired by Disney, whether it's the parks or the movies. And then I just have books that are about the Disney, specifically Disney parks. So one moment while I grab another book. Okay, so I grabbed it. So this is just an amalgamation of somehow these books are connected, either generally or specifically. They're all somehow connected back to Disney. And you can kind of see some of the titles, but we're just going to go through this list. I'm going to start off with the books that aren't physically shown. And the first one, there are two in here that I mentioned. One in this book's not physically shown list, and then in this stack. There are two where I'm using one book or like a general review to talk about a bigger series. So this first one is Serena Valentino's Disney series and her Disney Villains series. And I've talked about this one quite a bit, so I'm not going to talk about it too much right now. I went into it expecting that each book, it would be an interconnected standalone series, where each book was about a separate Disney villain and kind of their origin. And the first one did that. Second one sort of did it, but not really. Third one didn't do that. And the third one was, I feel, a bit of a cop-out because it was the Beast, and the Beast isn't really the true villain of the story. Like, yes, the Beast, Adam, does do some shitty stuff, but he's not the actual villain of the story. And so I feel like that third book was a bit of a cop-out, especially since Serena Valentino later did guest on. But anyway, that's besides the point. I went into this expecting that it would be a series of interconnected standalones about the origins of the villains. And the first one, which was first of all about the evil queen, I think was the best. I read the first 3, and it got to a point where there were these 3 sister characters who got so progressively annoying, and they had no purpose other than to annoy and to instigate stuff. And it ended up being this, there ended up being this large overarching plot that was just not very well constructed in my opinion. And it felt like it definitely is YA books, but it doesn't feel like good YA. It doesn't feel like it's providing much. But I've talked about it before, so I'm not going to talk about it too much. And then the next one, sadly, another Serena Valentino one, it's Raising the Horseman. And this one is another one that I've talked about. I had such high expectations for this one, and I shouldn't have, given how the first 3 villains books went. But I shouldn't have had such high expectations for it, but I did because I love the Adventures of Ichabod and Mr. Toad. That short, like, I love that short. I have the Mr. Toad popcorn bucket. One second, let me get it. I have this popcorn bucket. It's not the best constructed popcorn bucket, especially in comparison to the ones in Japan at Tokyo Disney. Like, it goes like this, and it's not, let me, because of where the strap is, it's a little heavy this way. Like, if they had had the straps more here, more in the middle, it would have been fine. But anyway, besides the point, I have this, and I was so disappointed when I found out that I missed out on the 75th anniversary Loungefly for Ichabod and Mr. Toad. It was a combination of that, and like I was so disappointed when I found out that I missed out about it, and I cannot find it anywhere, which really upsets me. Like, all of the horses are showing sold. So anyway, I had high expectations for Raising the Horseman, and it felt like it has a dual timeline. Okay, it has a dual timeline. First timeline, you're following the original story. Second timeline, you're following like a later generation, and that's fine. But like, if you're gonna have like that original story, you need to change it up slightly. And there was like not that many changes to the story, and the one big thing felt so stupid. Like, it was kind of like a what was the point type of a deal. And it was just like, what was the point of building it up to this only for it to like not follow through, you know? I don't want to give spoilers because, again, this is my opinion and people could feel differently about this, but like, it's revolving like the Headless Horseman, the character of the Headless Horseman, and it's like there was all this build up, and then this big reveal, and then kind of like an anticlimactic post reveal of the big reveal that was like, what was the point of having this build up to this character and then have it not? So anyway, and then also too, it's like with the dual timeline, with like the later timeline, it's like it felt like an exact copy of the original story. Like, it felt like an exact copy of that previous timeline, of the older timeline with the original storyline, that it was like, what was the point of having a dual timeline? It didn't feel necessary having a dual timeline, because it was just like reading the same story in both timelines and nothing different between the two. And also, there was like one thing that was so freaking obvious, and again, this is another YA book, so it's like, you kind of expect it to be a little bit more obvious, but it's like, this was so obvious, and it was just like, okay. And maybe it's because I've watched the short so much that like I saw it coming, but like, that was way too obvious. And again, I don't want to spoil anything. So yeah, there was that. And then the next one is Mirror Mirror by Calonita. And this is a Disney twisted tale about Snow White. And again, I've said it before, and I'll say it again. With the Disney twisted tales, with them, you should only read the what if question. Do not read the synopsis for the Disney twisted tales, because 9 times out of 10 you will get a major plot point reveal that you should not get until you're actually reading it. And that bothers me about these books, because it's like, I want to go into this expecting, I don't want to go into expecting like a major plot point, like, and some of them are major plot points. So with Mirror Mirror by Calonita, it answers the question, the what if question: what if the evil queen poisoned prince? And that's a pretty big plot point in and of itself. But like, you get like the build up, and then this synopsis gives a little bit too much detail about that build up, so don't read the synopsis for the Disney twisted tales. But with Mirror Mirror, I felt like it was trying to do what the movie Mirror Mirror did with Lily Collins. I felt like it was trying to do what that did, but it didn't do it as well. And like, a large part of what makes Mirror Mirror so appealing is like the costumes, without having to explain what the costumes look like and what the outfits look like. So it's like, this one did fall a little flat for me. It's not bad, it fell a little flat for me. And then the next book is Go the Distance, but also by Calonita. Now this one. Now, like, again, only read the what if question. And for this one, it is, what if Meg had to become a Greek god, specifically to be with Hercules? And again, this one, like, it had a lot of potential, but again, I read the synopsis. I should have known. I read the synopsis, and I got a big plot point reveal. Do not read the synopsis for the Disney twisted tales. Don't, please, spare yourself. And like with this one, I feel like it had a lot of potential. There was one thing that I was mainly reading the story for, and it's kind of obvious once you do start reading it. It's like within the first chapter, you learn that it's within the first chapter, so this isn't really spoiler. You learn that Persephone's missing, and so that's not a huge plot point. That's not a huge spoiler reveal. And I'm not gonna say like the later on bits of that, but that was the main reason why I was reading Go the Distance. Like, I wanted to know exactly like where we were going with that plot point. Like, why was Persephone missing? And I love Meg, I love Herc, but I was reading for Persephone, which kind of is why it made it fall flat for me, because I was like, I want to be invested as to why Meg has to become a god. But it's like, it was a little lackluster for what it was promising for me. So, and then the very next prompt is, I keep wanting to say prompt. The next book is Once Upon a Dream by Liz Brazwell, and this is a Sleeping Beauty twisted tale. 1 second. And the prompt for this one, again, do not read the synopsis. The prompt for this one, the question for this one was, what if Sleeping Beauty, what if Princess Aurora never woke up? And I'm not going to say more than that. So that is the prompt, the question for Once Upon a Dream. And again, I liked the concept of this one, and overall it was okay for me. It was better than the other ones, because like, I feel like it hit all the right points, but I just feel like it didn't wow me, it didn't amaze me, it didn't blow me out of the water like some of these other ones did. Disney twisted tale section. So it didn't wow me as much as the others that I read. So with all that said, let's get into the physical list. So first and foremost, Sleepy Hollow by Washington Irving. This copy specifically is Sleepy Hollow and Other Tales. So in Sleepy Hollow, you're following an itinerant schoolmaster named Ichabod Crane, who comes upon a small town, Sleepy Hollow, as its new schoolmaster. And that's all you need to know. Mainly because it's such a well-known story, that's all you really need to know. And kind of like what I was talking about earlier, this one is the story that inspired the legend, the Adventures of Ichabod and Mr. Toad, specifically Sleepy Hollow, because that is one short, and like I love that. And this one, I feel like it's because I love the Adventures of Ichabod and Mr. Toad so much that having like the visuals of the animated short and the sounds and Bing Crosby singing, chef's kiss. Like I really like this, and I usually try to read it every year, but like doesn't always happen. It's not something like with Lord of the Rings and The Hobbit where it's like I have to read it every year. But it's like I try to, and you know, it's a fun Halloween read. It's a fun spooky read, and it's just all around a good watch. All around a good read. And then the next one is I Love Disney's Magic Kingdom by Danielle Kelly, who's the other author on this, with Ian Wilson. And this one is like, I had a little bit of a harder time connecting this one as a Disneyland girly. I've never been to the other Disney theme parks, so it's like I had a little bit of a hard time connecting this one. Maybe we'll get a Disneyland version. I don't know. I know we're getting Epcot, but maybe we'll get a Disneyland version at some point. But I did really enjoy this, and I did really like reading about like some of these some of these Disney World fun facts, and just reading about some of the differences between Disneyland and Walt Disney World. So this was a really fun, really short read. Definitely worth it if you want to learn a little bit more about the Magic Kingdom. So definitely highly recommend this. All of the books in this stack, the physical books, are ones that I do recommend reading in one form or another. So the other ones, the ones that I didn't physically show, not so much, but you're not missing out by not reading those ones. But these ones, I feel like you need to read. But continuing, it is The Wind in the Willows by Kenneth Grahame. This inspired the other half of the Ichabod and Mr. Toad animated shorts. This one was Mr. Toad. Now, if you're going into this story expecting it to be like the animated short, that is part of it, but there are some key differences, which I'm not going to say because I think you do have to read the book. But it's such a fun, sweet little story, and just you get to see more of the other characters and just more of new characters, or not new characters, but other characters that you don't see in the animated shorts. And just, it's a fun little kind of easy read, and it's just easy going along with Toad and Molly and Rat and Angus McBadger. Like, this is just a fun, easy read. It's very quick too, relatively speaking. Let's see, how many pages is it? It's only 210 pages, so it's a relatively quick read. So there's that one. And then the next book is Almost There by Farrah Rochon. This one probably is one of my favorite Twisted Tales. This one and then one other, and both by Farrah Rochon. And this one's like tying first place with the other one by Farrah Rochon. But in this one, it answers the question of what if Tiana had made a deal with Facilier? That's the kind of question we need to have on these. Like, keep it a little bit vague, a little bit open-ended, and then like make it specific within the book. So this one, like, I love Tiana, I love Lottie, I love Naveen, I love Big Daddy LaBeouf. Like, this spectacular cast. I love seeing more of these characters, and I love seeing them interact more, and just spectacular read. This one can be a little bit heavier, so just look into any potential trigger warnings, but again, try not to read the description. But there are a couple of trigger warnings in this, so I would be aware of those. If there's anything that triggers you, definitely look into that. And the story graph usually is pretty good about having trigger warnings. The next book is When You Wish Upon a Star by Elizabeth Glam, and this one is What If the Blue Fairy Wasn't Supposed to Have Pinocchio? Again, a great what if question. And this one, like, I love this one. It's in like second place to the other two for Rochon Twisted Tales, but like this one's still high up. It's in a high second place. Like I absolutely love this one. And which was like, it kind of took me by surprise how much I like this, because I'm not the biggest fan of Pinocchio. Like, I've never really, when I was little, I never really liked Pinocchio. Like, I never really enjoyed it very much. Just because when I was little, I never really liked the movies that had boy main characters, especially kind of bratty ones. Like, I never really liked those movies. There are some exceptions, but like as a general rule, for when I was little, like I never really liked those stories. So it surprised me how much I liked this book. And like I think it was just like the fantasy element on top of Elizabeth Lim writing it. Like, I love her writing. I love the Six Crimson Cranes duology, and then the prequel to it, which is Her Radiant Curse. Like, I love that series. Like, chef's kiss. So I'm not surprised that I love this one as much as I did. So it was a fantastic read. And again, that's coming from someone who does not really like Pinocchio. I'll go on the ride even though it's kind of raggedy now, but like, I'm not a big fan of Pinocchio. I do like the Christmas one, weirdly, but again, it's like, he's kind of a bratty kid. Anyway, the next one is a Twisted Tale anthology edited by Elizabeth Lim with what if twists by Olivia Blackburn, Liz Brazwell, Jen Calonita, M.K. England, Elizabeth Lim, Nicole Ostow, Christina Perez, and Farrah Rochon. Now, this one has, let me see, there should be a list. Okay, so I'm just going to go through this list real quick. So, Cast Out, What If Snow White Learned Magic, A First Mission, What If Mulan Became the Emperor's Advisor, Et Voila, What If Remy Had Met Colette First, The Envelope, What If Anastasia Had a Change of Heart, which I appreciate that Anastasia was included here. A New Dawn, What If Mufasa Gave Up His Throne, Rattle the Stars, What If Jim Hawkins Joined the Pirates, A Royal Game of Chess, What If History Wasn't Quite Right About the Legend of Robin Hood, The Secret Exchange. I will say, Robin Hood, there's like a full book, Robin Hood Twisted Tale, which is like Princess of Thieves, and I think that's like What If Marion had led the band of merry men. I want to read that, but it's only available in Australia, and I need it so badly. This is such a first world problem, but like, I need it so badly. Hopefully one day, fingers crossed. Anyway, The Secret Exchange, What If Eric Met Ariel After She Rescued Him, Dust to Dust, What If Tinkerbell Was Working for Captain Hook, Gonna Take You There, What If Naveen Had to Get Home to Maldonia, What If Naveen Had to Get Home to Maldonia, Fates 3, What If the Triplets Visited the Witch, and that one's Brave. A Dragon in the Snow, What If Madame Mim and Merlin went to school together. The Journey Home, What If Belle Had to Take her father's place at the fair, Call It a Hunch, What If Hercules' first day as a god didn't go as planned, The Reluctant Prince, What If Bambi didn't want to be the next great prince of the forest, and then The Rose and the Thorns, What If Aurora knew the truth about her curse. So those are all the Twisted Tales, and these are short stories. Like, it's an anthology, so it's a combination of short stories. Those are all the ones that are in this specifically, and for some of them I feel like it worked, and then overall I felt like a lot of these would have been better as full Twisted Tale books, like, or had their own like novella rather than just being like a short story. I feel like most of them needed to be fleshed out more, but I feel like a lot of them worked fine as short stories. I wanted them fleshed out a little bit more. But overall, good read. Especially if you just need a couple of short stories here and there, like, that's a good read. And then the next one is my other top favorite, first place Twisted Tale, tied with Almost There, and it's Fate Be Changed by Farah Rochon. This one answers the question of what if the witch gave Merida a different spell. And this one, I love exploring the character of Merida, because like, Elsa can back off. Elsa can back off. Like, we had Merida and we had Mulan long before Elsa. And I have some critiques about Elsa, but I'm not going to say them right now. But I love exploring her character because she was so staunchly against getting married and being in a relationship because she wanted to find herself first and be comfortable with herself first, which is something I think I really related to, and I think so many people relate to. And also too, it's like that intrinsic dynamic between a mother and her daughter, like, So anyway, this is such a great read. I absolutely love this, and like, highly recommend it. 10 out of 10. Amazing read. Don't fall. These books are gonna fall. Okay, we're good for now. We're good for now. So the next one is the Never After novels, that series by Emily McIntire, and this one is, I will say, beware. If you're not expecting spice, these books are spicy. These books have spice in them. So, be aware. What did I even... Oh. I was trying to remember what I bookmarked. Anyway. Or what I posted. Because this, I had read this and a couple of the other Twisted Tales when I was attempting to, like, post-it note stuff. Anyway, I might take these out at some point. But essentially in this, you're following like a twisted tale. It's not really a twisted tale in that sense, but you're following a darker retelling of Peter Pan, in which Hook and Wind, this series is basically the villain gets the girl, or the villain gets the love interest. So in this one, Hook gets Wendy and Scarred. Scar gets, is it Robbie or Nala? I would assume so, Robbie. And then Hook, Scarred. The only one that isn't Disney, it's Wretched. And in that one, it's kind of vague who it is, but I think we can safely assume it's Farrah with the Wicked Witch of the West. And then there's Twisted, it's Jafar and Jasmine. And then Hexed, it's Vanessa and Eric, or Ursula and Eric. And then Crossed, it's Frollo and Esmeralda. So it's the villain gets the love interest. The villain gets the girl. In Hexed case, the villain gets the guy. So great. Like, these were like more on the popcorn read end of the spectrum for me. And like, I'd read these when I was in a pretty bad reading slump, and it helped me start getting out of that reading slump and just having little expectation, mainly because romance isn't my main genre. But I really like reading dark romance just because it utilizes romance tropes, book tropes, in a way that makes sense and utilizes them well. So yeah, definitely recommend the Never After novels, but there is spice. You are forewarned. And then we start a new stack because I don't want that one falling. Oh, that was just a fuzz. Okay, so the next one is Cleaning the Kingdom by Ken Pellman and Lynn Barron, with a foreword by Rolly Crump. Rolly Crump is one of the original Imagineers who kind of has my heart. He was such a sweet, funny guy. And I love seeing him in the Disney Imagineering docu-series, and then the Behind the Attraction docu-series on Disney Plus. Like, I love seeing him in that. But this one, you're basically following stories of like the custodial team and how they keep it clean, and their stories that they have to share. So this was I don't want to talk too much about it because this is really one you have to read if you can get your hands on it. But like, this was such a fun read to really dive into and read. One moment. Okay, so this is, oh, there's actually two that are like some of Disney's inspiration. So this one is Grimm's Fairy Tales, and I don't need to talk about this one too much, so think of like stories like Snow White's, even though these aren't necessarily the original stories, just because it's like there are so many places where these stories could have originated from. So think Snow White, Cinderella, what are some of the other ones? I don't need a list of plates. The Golden Bird, The 12 Dancing Princesses, Sleeping Beauty. Where is some more? Little Red Riding Hood, The Golden Goose, Hansel and Gretel, The Frog Prince, The Fox and the Horse. So stories like those. And this was Disney's inspiration, or like the their source material for a lot of their movies. So this one is fun. You just kind of have to be aware, if you're going in this expecting the Disney movies, it's not going to be that. Just be aware. And again, there are so many renditions for some of these stories that you like, even though like Disney did turn to some of Grimm's fairy tales, like you can't pinpoint an exact story as to what the, like I said, as to what the original story was for some of these stories. So the next one is I'm going to talk about is A Christmas Carol. I talked about this a little bit. I haven't talked about it in, well, I had my, did I watch that on? I need to look this up. Give me a second. Okay, so I did watch the Disney one with, why am I blanking on his name? The Grinch. Why am I blanking on his name? Jim Carrey. I don't know why I was blanking on his name for a minute. So is it Jim Carrey in that? Disney Chris Carol cast. Yeah, it's Jim Carrey. Okay. Like, I did watch it. I did have a react to it here on this from last year. So I'll link it down below in the description. But like, that one was better than the Patrick Stewart. I hate saying this because I love Patrick Stewart. That one was better than the Patrick Stewart one, but like, because the Patrick Stewart one was rough and it was Hallmark of all things. But I did not enjoy the Disney Christmas Carol. I love the Mickey Mouse Christmas Carol. Love that one. But like, this one, like, the animation's weird. I think it was, yeah, it's the same animation company who did the Polar Express, and I hate that animation in Polar Express. I can never watch it. I like the story of Polar Express. It's kind of like what I was talking about earlier, where it's like I didn't really like stories about like boy main characters. That was part of it for me as well. So it's like, I really did not like the animation of the Polar Express, and that being seen in, it wasn't as bad in the Disney Christmas Carol, but like, it was, I just don't like that animation. Like, this is one of my favorite Christmas stories. Like, I absolutely love, excuse me, I talked about it, I loved the George C. Scott one. I love the Muppet one. Those two are like top tier amazing renditions of the Christmas Carol. And like, and oftentimes when I'm watching like other versions of Christmas Carol, I've only watched like two others, the Patrick Stewart one and then the Disney one. Like, watching those two, I'm always comparing it to like the Muppet one and the Mickey Mouse one and the George C. Scott one, and it's like nothing lives up to those ones, especially not the George C. Scott one. Like, nothing lives up to the George C. Scott one. And it's like, that Disney one was so rough, and it like, not as rough as the Patrick Stewart one, but it's like there were parts of it where I was like, no. But this one, you're following Ebenezer Scrooge. Oh, I've watched this in Just Been in Town too, so let me see. I watched George C. Scott, Muppets, Mickey, Stingiest Man in Town, which was Rankin and Bass, Patrick Stewart, and then George C. Scott, Muppet, Mickey, Stingiest Man in Town, Disney, and then Patrick Stewart. So I've watched 6. I always forget about the Stingiest Man in Town. That one's probably, I don't know if I would place it lower than, it's probably equal with the Patrick Stewart one. But like, in this one, you're following Ebenezer Scrooge. He's the stingiest man in town. He's a real penny pincher. And Christmas Eve, well, not Christmas Eve. In the original book, it's like 3 days before Christmas, or like 2 nights before Christmas. And so it's over like the course of 3 nights, and his old business partner, Jacob Marley, comes to him as a ghost and says like, you'll be visited by 3 ghosts, and you need to reform or else you'll end up like me in chains. So not gonna say too much more about that because at this point it's such a well-known Christmas classic. And then the next one is Bravely by Maggie Stiefvater. And this one, I love this one. I don't think I love it as much as Fate Be Changed. But like when I read this, it had such a big impact on me. Again, because it's Brave and Merida. But also too because of some of the themes and topics it tackles. It is such a great read. And in this one, you're basically following Merida as she tries to help her family not be as stagnant, not be as unchanging. And she also has to keep herself in mind as well as her family. So that's what this one is. And I'm not talking too much about that one just because I've talked about it a lot recently. So yeah. And then the next one is Disney Adults by AJ Wolf. And this one tackles the subculture of Disney adults, why many of us are the way we are, and why kind of this subculture, why Disney adults is such a hated group or a hated topic, and kind of taking a look at Disney adults from the Disney adult perspective. And I talked about this in a video, which I'll link down below in the description as well. But like, this is such a great read. It's not as like research heavy as you might expect, but this had a lot more, like this was another one where I had a little bit of a hard time connecting to it because I am a Disneyland girly, and this one is more Disney World specific, so I did have a little bit of a hard time connecting to it, but it was pretty easy to connect to because it's just Disney adults and Disney. So another great read. And then the very last one is The Adventures of Indiana Jones, and this one is basically like it's basically the movies, specifically Raiders of the Lost Ark, Indiana Jones and Temple of Doom, and then The Last Crusade. And specifically, it's basically those movies, but some things are expanded upon. I'm not going to talk too much about it because if you watch the movies, you know. But again, these ones expand on that a little bit more and talk about that a little bit more. So this is a fun read. And it's fun to revisit in book form, those books. So fun times with this one. So that is the end of this video. If there are any books that I didn't mention that are Disney related, whether it's a book that inspired a Disney movie or a book inspired by a Disney movie and or Disney in general, comment down below and let me know your thoughts on that specific book or books. And thank you all for watching. I'll see you all in my next video.